This is about 100 minutes. Earl Smith, the third, he actually performed the experiment that verified the meta eye. The eye's dynamic, and he swept right by it. If you're trained not to understand something, then you'll never understand anything. So here goes. Good morning.
It's my pleasure to welcome you to the International Myopia Institute's White Paper Reports Symposium. My name is Earl Smith, and it's my pleasure to be able to moderate the session this morning. And as you can see on the slide, I have several disclosures. I receive research funding from the National Eye Institute, Brian Holden Vision Institute, and from the U of H Foundation. And I have several conflicts of interest that are relevant for subjects within this symposium. There are also disclosures associated with the IMI. The International Myopia Institute is an independent, non-profit entity. It was founded by the Brian Holden Vision Institute. In fact, this was one of Brian's last initiatives that he got started. The IMI is independent of BHVI. It has its own advisory board, and it has its own committees of experts. The IMI does, however, receive funding from the Brian Holden Vision Institute, from Carl Zeiss Vision, Cooper Vision, SLR, Alcon, and the Vision Impact Institute. The creation of the IMI was motivated by the fact that much of what we know about myopia does not really get communicated outside the scientific community. We discuss myopia extensively in meetings like the Academy, the International Myopia Conference, and things like that. But a lot of those ideas don't get communicated to the broader components of society. And the idea behind the IMI was to create a forum where all interested researchers could discuss and contribute to developing a consensus on issues that are relevant to our current understanding of myopia. The overall goals are to collect evidence regarding the epidemic of myopia, as I said before, to build consensus on issues related to understanding myopia, to accumulate evidence on possible solutions for managing myopia, and again, to educate and advocate to a wide audience outside the scientific community on the adverse effects of myopia and potential programs or regimens to reduce the burden of myopia. Our current specific aim is to bring together key researchers in collaboration with the International Myopia Conference to collect and review evidence and to produce consensus white papers related to myopia that will provide guidance for future research and evidence for policymakers, practitioners, and educators on the management of myopia. The IMI was formed around the key values of scientific integrity, meticulous attention to detail, collaborative, respectful, and acknowledgement of all contributions in the area, and focus on evidence-based knowledge on all issues related to understanding myopia and for reducing the burden of myopia. This illustrates some of who we are. We have an advisory board that consists of 12 optometrists, ophthalmologists, and vision scientists from around the globe. Serge Reznikov, who headed up the ocular disease section of WHO for many years, is the chair of the advisory board. Monica Zhang, who just had a baby last week, is our executive director, and she's the one that is responsible for taking care of all the details. She wishes she could be here today. We are largely a virtual entity. It is basically centered in Sydney, and this is our website, and I want to draw your attention to the web address and point out the fact fact that membership in the International Myopia Institute is free. We encourage you to log on and join. More than just joining, we urge you to contribute. We currently have over 360 members associated with the IMI. And this is a brief history. We really got started in the Academy meeting in 2015. And at the ARVO meeting the next year, we actually got together two groups of folks to work on the initial two white papers. And we thought that was about all we could handle at the time. We were very fortunate because the next spring at the International Myopia Conference in Aston, we were able to develop a collaborative partnership with the IMC, and that allowed us to put together 5 additional white paper committees. And currently, there are over 90 contributors to the 7 white papers that have been reviewed, and they've been harmonized, they've been accepted by investigative ophthalmology and vision science. They're scheduled to be published early next year, late January, early February. And this is our first opportunity to discuss some of the issues that are in those white papers to the broader public. And so this is our schedule for today. We're going to discuss 5 of the papers. The first is the paper defining and classifying myopia. That will be presented by one of the lead author, Ian Flintcroft from the Dublin Institute of Technology. The next paper will be by Chris Wildesett on interventions for myopia control. The third paper by James Wolfson on clinical trials and instrumentation. Kate Gifford will talk on clinical management of guidelines. And finally, David Troilo will talk about experimental animal models. The 2 other white papers we hope to be able to discuss at an ARVO-SIG, depending on whether or not that's accepted. Each speaker will speak for about 15 minutes or so, and we'll have time for questions at the end. So please hold your questions until the end. And so without further delay, it's my pleasure to bring up Ian Flintcroft from the Dublin Institute of Technology to talk about definitions and classifications of myopia.
Oops, we got the commercial. I got to go back.
So, do we need new definitions? Don't we have some good ones?
I think this is Flitcroft.
Which is the International Classification of Diseases from the World Health Organization.
Definitions.
Came out of beta this year. The last one, ICD-10, was finalized about 18 years ago. So we're going to have this definition for a long time. And within, so that's one definition there, which we'll analyze in a second. And the next one is from the...
You should do a definition of the refractive states of all myas starting at birth, which have plus and minus refractive states, not defects. They jump right into myopia with no idea they're dealing with a dynamic normal eye, but let us continue.
The World Health Organization report, which was done with the Brian Holden Vision Institute from a meeting in 2015, which again just is a definition in terms of the amount. So to use a term I'll come back to. So this is a qualitative or descriptive definition. This is a quantitative one. So we have 2 recent definitions from impeccable sources. Let's just use those. Let's have a look at these in terms of as a lawyer hat. Within that definition there, a primacy is given to a curved cornea as a cause of myopia. Do we really want to live with that kind of emphasis for the next 20 years? I'm not quite sure about that. They mention the eye being too long, but there's no mention of any other refractive component of the eye like a lens. So through Surge, we've been in contact with the people involved with the ICD-11. There is a review process in place. And in terms of consensus,
I'd recommend listening to 100 minutes. But remember, they have no idea about the meta-eye, the eye that's dynamic system when measured objectively, not as an error or defect. But they don't like that word. They want the eye to be defective so they can prescribe for it. If you can't define the meta-eye correctly and talk about the eye as a control system, you're not going to be much help to anyone. Now, granted, children are bad. Their habits take their vision down. No, that's the meta-eye. Just be honest about it. The only person who really grasps the concept of the eye as dynamic is Ruben Wong. And she doesn't get into these discussions because she knows for certain that it's going to happen to her children. So she does the only right thing. She keeps her eyes 20 inches off the page and has them play tennis. And given the meta-eye understanding, their refractive state will measure as positive. And I'll cover that later. She uses a lens star, which gives a length. And I use a Snellen, which gives a state. So how you sort that out is up to you. I pretty much agree that children are out of control. And I take responsibility for that. I don't kid myself on that one. But any real study would have to involve an engineer who designs control systems and actually look at the meta-eye data, including somewhat what Earl Smith did with the primate eye, which of course is totally ignored if it implies that a negative refractive state can be totally prevented with the intelligence and motivation of the individual himself. So I'm practicing prevention of myself because I realize I don't have any choice but to make my own measurements and keep my refractive state measured as positive. So I'm finally in control of my vision, as it should be. And unfortunately, you can't prescribe this. You can review it with engineers who design control systems, and if they measure themselves at 2040, they could probably do what I'm doing with the same results through 4 years of college. After all, what is engineering college about? It is to understand the science of the eye and how all eyes actually do behave. The meta-eye as a control system, not the eye as a badly adjusted camera. Add your own comments and thank you.